Hey everyone, I am Xylo Aria, and today I want to go through with you the differences between the Launchkey MK2 and the Launchkey MK3 and what's happened in the new one that's just come out. So look and feel wise, I feel like, they look fairly similar in what they are and the size and that kind of thing, but this does feel like an upgrade. The quality of things like, the keys and the keys here, this has a bit of a better feel to it, and the look wise as well, this is kind of nice and has a matte finish, which I quite like as well, and the keys as well, they are all like a shiny finish. This has the matte finish for the black keys, which I think look nice as well. But yeah, as far as the buttons that they have, it's fairly similar, but a main difference is they've kind of moved these two things around. So your pads are here and your faders are here, but obviously that's only for the Launchkey 49 and 61, and yeah, to mention, this is a 49 and this new one is a 61, so there's a bit of a size difference there obviously in the number of keys. But yeah, so in general, those two things are switched around. The connectors, they both have the same USB device connector. They have the sustain, so if you want to add a sustain pedal, and that one has a power connector as well if you want to add external power. This one doesn't. I assume it doesn't need it. And it also has a Midi pin connector as well, so if you want to connect this up to another device, you can do that with this, whereas you couldn't with that. As far as the feels for different things, it definitely feels like an upgrade, like I said. So for example, starting with the mod wheels, these have a better feel to them. These in general, I feel like most things felt a little bit cheaper, and the keys have a bit more resistance in the new one, whereas the other ones were kind of really simple to push down, so I like that. And the pots as well, I think these new ones have a slightly more resistance. The faders seem fairly similar actually between the two different ones, and a major difference is the pads. So the old pads, to be honest, I really struggle with them because yeah, going into like drum mode or something, I didn't really use them much because you had to really smash them, I felt, to get much sound from it. But if you're using the drum mode on here, you don't really have to press very hard, but they're not too sensitive either. So this, I'm much more likely to use this than the old one. So that is something I really like. And with these transport functions, all the old ones are here as well, and then they've got some new ones. So yeah, general feel wise, it's similar in a way, but there is a lot more you can do with this one. So there's a lot more functions that have been added, which I will now go through with you. So if we start with this section here, obviously the screen is a big one. So there you've just got the ability to see things like numbers, so what track you're on, or like the percentage of volume that you're at, or whatever it is. But here it has full words and that kind of thing. So there's a lot more that you can see on here. So what notes you're pressing in your chords, etc. So that's really nice. And then these two functions are new as well. So your shift allows you to really easily look at all the functions that you have available to you. In the old one, it didn't have that, it just had that hold function. I guess there just weren't as many functions you can access in the old one. But also with the settings, you can customize it a bit. So things like your aftertouch, your pad brightness, things like that, you can go into that and change that a bit if you want to. The old one, you couldn't do that. And then you've got these track buttons. So this is similar to the old one, but it is a little bit different. So with the track buttons in the old one, when you move around, it does change the arm of the track as well, whereas in the new one, it doesn't. So that's, I feel like potentially could get a bit annoying, but there is a way to get around it, which I'll go through with you. But that's the track functions. And then you've got this ... button, and this is cool actually. So with this, if you're in your browser, then you can actually access different sounds, and enter them, and then that will go into your track. So it gives you a bit more of an option to use the keyboard without looking at the computer all the time. So that's a nice function, and that's new. So, and then you've also got this fixed chord, which is new as well. So with your fixed chord, if you're holding this down and then you select a number of keys, then with every note that you press, it's going to play that key. So that's a handy thing to have. And then also this arpeggiator function. So this is something that I think they've put a lot of time into. So this is a new thing. If you press that on, then you can access a lot of different arpeggiation functions. So you can control that completely with your keyboard pretty much. So your type of arpeggiation, your rate, your octaves, your rhythms, and all that can be changed around really easily just with your pads here and also your keys. And you can change this on the fly. So if you wanted to change the tempo, you can do that. If you wanted to change the gate and your swing. So there's a few different functions that you can do with the ARP, and yeah, so you can be able to access all that and change it around just with the keyboard, so that's cool. And then you've got the scale function. So this is actually probably one of my favorites. So with the scale function, you can access a bunch of different scales, so your major, your minor, whatever you want, and you can choose your root key as well. And then with this, when you're playing live, then you're pretty much never going to go out of scale. So that's really handy, I think, if you're playing live especially, or if you're just improvising and maybe you don't have that much knowledge of music theory, or yeah, you just want to come up with some new ideas. So that's really handy. So that's a new function. And then you've got your octaves here, which is the same, and then the pitch and mod wheels are the same as well. And then if we go into the pots, so they are similar to the old ones, but of course there are some new features as well. So in the old ones, you had access to your devices. You could change your devices, your pans, your sends A and send B, and you could control all of that with your pots. So if you're on devices, you know, you can change around your device there. This, you can do all of that, but also you can change the volume as well. So with that one, the volume's kind of sat with the faders and the other functions kind of sat with the pots, but here you can switch them around if you want to. And also in your devices as well, there's a way for you to lock the device that you're looking at, which is a new function as well. So say with this one, you just wanted to be able to control the brightness, and then we lock this and then you move to another track. And now this is actually still controlling the brightness in the first track, and it hasn't moved on to the device in the next track. So that's something that you can do in this one, which is the device lock. And obviously the pots also control all your arpeggiation functions as well. So you've got that, which the other one didn't have. So with the pads here, with the old ones, they pretty much just worked as a session view controller or as a drum pad as well. And so if we press this, you can launch the scene, which is the same as this button here. So if we press that, then these buttons pretty much just stop those clips from playing. But here you can change what these buttons do. So here again, this triggers your scene, and then you can stop them. Or if you're playing, you can also solo the tracks, or you can mute them. And then it goes back to session view. So yeah, so those are your session view functions. And then you've got your drum functions. So that works similar to the old one, where you have access to the pads that you can use as drum triggers. But obviously I just really like these pads a lot more than the old ones. And then you also have your scale chord and your user chord function. So these two are new. So in your scale chord, if you go into that, and if I this track, then you have access to a bunch of different chords. So yeah, this you have, you know, sevens, nines and triads and a bunch of different things. And yeah, so this can help you get ideas for chords. So that's a nice thing that they've added. And then you've got your user chord as well. So in user chords, you can assign chords to each pad. So if you hold a pad down, then you can trigger different chords that you want to trigger with each pad. So that's a new one. So yeah, so you've got your session, which is the same with added functions, drum, which is the same, and then your scale chord and user chord, which are new. And yeah, and with both your pots and your pads, you've got these 4 custom settings that you can go into Novation components and completely change around to do whatever you want them to do. So that's something that's new in the new controller compared to the old one. So if we go into the faders now, so yeah, the old faders pretty much just controlled volume with the in control. You can turn that off and then assign them to other things. But here, yeah, you've got your devices that it can control, the volumes, the sends. So there's 2 sends that it can control as well. So there are 4 different things essentially that it can do, plus the 4 different custom modes here as well. So, you know, similar to the pots and the pads, you can go into components and then add 4 different functions of your own that you want it to do. And then you've got your arm select. So this is a new thing. So when your arm is, or when your select is on, then you can select different tracks. So I guess similar to moving around with your tracks, but you can jump around with these a bit more. And then if you go into arm, it's going to arm the different tracks. So yeah, that's what I mean with the tracks. It doesn't do that. So you just need to do that with these buttons here. So that's your arm select. And yeah, with these functions here, these bottom ones are the same as the old keyboard, but these new ones are different on the top. So there is Capture Midi. So Capture Midi is a new function with Ableton, and yeah, so if you play a chord and or whatever you want to play and you really liked it and you didn't record it, you can just press Capture Midi, and that's actually captured the thing that I played. And the next one is the Quantize. So if I press Quantize, then that really easily quantizes whatever it is that you're looking at. So that's a new function as well. And then there is the click. So you have access to that with your keyboard. You can turn that off and on, which is handy. And then you also have the undo button. So if you press that, you don't like what you did last. So that's undone the Quantize, and now undone the record. So so yeah, that's cool. But yeah, just remember there's no redo function. So if you go kind of one step too far back, then you can't go forward again. So that's pretty much all of the new functions and the main differences between the old one and the new one. But yeah, I mean, it feels like a major upgrade for me. Like, yeah, I use that a lot. And I was hoping that there wouldn't be any major things that they've taken out, but yeah, everything's there, but a lot more has been added as well. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. And yeah, if you've tried the Mark III and what you think of it. And yeah, if you like the video, then please make sure you subscribe. And yeah, have a great day. Bye.